Is there like an in-between answer on that one?
Fact-ish.
So I'm going to answer it in this way.
It can be helpful depending on what an MBA wants to do.
First question is, do you have the best chance of getting into school by applying in round one?
Fiction.
Fiction.
Probably fiction.
So I was in between on this one, but I'll say fiction.
If you rush the process, we're going to see that as a committee member.
But when you're ready means you have thought about the process, kind of you've lined up everything that you need. You've read through the FAQs, like you have a good copy of your resume, like you are able to devote some time.
And if spending the extra 2 months to submit a stronger application in round two, if that makes sense, you probably stand a better chance in round two.
There's very few programs that fill up their entire program in one round.
There's always room for a strong candidate.
I will put a caveat in there that when you apply round one or in the earlier rounds, round one or round two, at least you'll get a decision early in the process.
Chat with someone. They can probably tell you whether it's better to do it now or to do it in the future.
You will not get scholarship or fellowship money in round three.
That one is definitely a fiction.
Fiction.
Is there like an in-between answer on that one? I'm going to go on more of the fact side.
We offer fellowships in later rounds.
We have students that meet particular requirements. They can still receive fellowships in round three. But I wouldn't encourage applying for round three if you're looking for fellowships because of just how much money may not be available.
We award money based on the fact that we know we're going to bring in more students in round two and round three.
There's nothing you can do to get off the wait list. You just have to wait.
I'm going to say fiction, actually.
You just have to wait.
Fiction.
It depends on when you were placed on the wait list.
Let's say you chose to submit a test score and you know that you really could have done better. Retake the test.
For us, we allow candidates to submit information to help strengthen their application while they're on the wait list as well. Sell yourself.
If you do some self-reflection without knowing the committee's decision and feedback in terms of notes on why this candidate was put on the wait list, you can figure out.
Reach out to current students, reach out to alums, share different things that maybe you were concerned about, and they can likely tell you how to maybe address some of those things.
Candidates with no quantitative analytical background will not get into business school.
False.
Fiction.
Fiction.
About 55% of our students are coming in from non-STEM backgrounds.
We really want candidates with diverse backgrounds because they bring diversity of thought. They think about things differently.
I mean, that doesn't mean that you don't have to prove it in some way. But again, if you didn't have that formal background, maybe in academics, then that's where we can talk through, maybe it's a test, maybe it's professional certifications, the type of work that you do in your career. There's many ways to prove your ability to be successful.
You need a minimum amount of work experience to be considered for the program.
Fiction.
How do I do like in between?
Fact-ish.
Fact, because I think most fall into the category.
The pool of applicants is the majority are bringing at least 2 years full-time work experience.
There are candidates that are very successful that come direct from undergrad, but it's what they did during their undergrad program.
We don't have an official minimum years of work experience. I'd say our most competitive candidates are usually coming in with between 4 to 7 years of experience by the time the program starts.
A lot of companies recruiting MBAs are looking for a certain amount of work experience. And so I think it can be helpful depending on what an MBA wants to do post their MBA.
But typically work experience is needed to get to the MBA level job that you want. That's not our role, but we have to be open and honest with you about what corporate America is expecting.
The standardized test is the most important factor in your admissions process.
False. They're more than just a test score, but it needs to be competitive.
GMAT is the standard and preferable to the GRE.
Fiction.
So I would say that's fiction. So we don't have a preference on which test you take.
We have no preference at all. And so if you're taking the GMAT, 5 times and your score didn't improve, me as an admissions member is going to think, why didn't you think of taking the GRE?
Take the free practice test. Go at it, take it, and then figure out, okay, which one did you feel more comfortable taking?
Full-time MBA program, we'll look at the GRE and the GMAT, and that'll include the new version of the GRE, with the no distinction there, and the GMAT, the current version as of this recording, and the GMAT Focus Edition. We're not going to have a preference between any of those.
Candidates who score within the 80% median are likely to get in, and candidates who don't are not.
Fiction.
Stay off the forums. That's not true.
Fiction.
Of course, it does help being in the higher ranges because you're a more competitive applicant.
If you're in the 80th percentile on both, that means that the likelihood is you are competitive in the classroom and you can do the work.
Really think about who you are and what you're going to bring to the class. But no, use it as a guideline. There's no guarantee.
There's other areas that we look for in the application to make sure that you are ready for the curriculum that you're going to experience.
Mathematically, it's impossible for everyone to come in the middle 80%.
A low GPA will prevent you from getting into a top MBA program.
Fiction.
It depends.
Fiction.
We have a range there. For folks who are coming in on the lower end of the range, it is important that you still bring in those other strengths. This is an opportunity. If your GPA is below our range or typical range, then it's probably worth investing time into some test prep so you can compensate for it with that higher academic signal.
Whatever prevented you from having a better GPA, you need to address, show that you've done things to fix it, address it, mature from it, and take that concern that it's going to happen again.
It's important, though, that they've told their story as to why. As long as you address it and there's a story associated with it, we've accepted GPAs that are below the 3.0.
You can actually be too old to apply to a full-time MBA program.
Fiction.
Well, that's ageism. We don't go based on age. What we're really looking for is the work experience.
A lot of it depends on your specific goals and the mechanism by which you'd like to find a career opportunity after the MBA program.
What's the right fit?
It really depends on the person.
Why are you applying to this program? What's going to be the value add, and what are you going to get out of the MBA?
Are they going to flourish in that community? That's usually one of the bigger concerns that we have as someone that is, I'll say this way, my age that's in the program. Do they want to hang out with 28 or 25-year-olds? And are they okay learning from them? Because learning from your peers is a huge component of that, as well as what are the career goals, and will those companies hire people out of that experience level for what you want to do?
You should only write the optional essay if you have a hole in your application.
Mostly a fact.
So this is going to be the undergraduate admissions counselor in me, and I'm going to say fact.
Have something to say.
Cover your bases, because a lot of times, when I will look at your application, your resume, and I see that there's these gaps, or, once again, something that needs to be explained, the first thing that I do is go to the optional essay to briefly, or to hopefully see that you've explained what that situation may be.
The majority of the applicant pool does not use the optional essay. We've also added things within the application that help you explain along the way. Most times people want to use that optional essay many times to explain a work gap or something professionally. You have that opportunity to do that within the employment section. So there are other places where you don't have to go to the optional essay.
That portion of the application does give you a chance to shed some light on what you might think is a red flag. So don't just, ignore it.
You want to utilize all of the real estate possible in the application. So you don't want to leave anything like blank, because it could be your opportunity to be able to share some more context. So the optional essay we do have on our application, more so sharing more about your upbringing and your background. So being able to utilize that space is only going to give us a full picture of who you are as an applicant.
Take advantage of that essay, but make sure that there's substance to it, and that you're not just giving the admissions committee something to read, and because that could hurt you as well.
If you don't get into a top 20, it's not worth getting your MBA at all.
It's definitely a fiction.
Fiction.
False.
Some students may be looking for programs that are a little bit more flexible in terms of maybe being online, maybe weekend programs.
There are so many things that you can do in any program.
The network, how do you utilize the network and all of those resources during the time? So you don't have to get into just a top 20 to be successful.
Maybe you eventually want to change careers later on in life. Just being able to have those networks or something that is definitely valuable.
And what you make of the experience and what the school offers you can just completely change your life. And there's a school for everybody, a program for everybody. And if you find the right one for you, it does not matter.
There are a lot of programs that right now are ranked outside the top 25. The next year could be in the top 25. And a lot of programs right now that are within the top 25 that may not be there forever.
The MBA ROI is not as strong in a digital economy.
I think that that's absolutely a fiction.
Fiction.
I would say fiction on that.
I have to say false.
I know the machines are there, but people are still a part of this. And at the highest levels in any company, leadership is a component. I believe the MBA is more valuable than ever because it's not a theoretical experience here. You get some incredible training, not just in the academics, but also in your awareness of yourself, your leadership capabilities. They're being tested every single day in the MBA program. And that is what will serve you the best at the highest levels and what you want to achieve leaving the MBA, what you want to achieve in your career. I think that the leadership and the learning, it's not an accident.
Being able to pivot jobs from year to year or every 5 years, it does help you having that MBA because there's a lot of flexibility in what you can really do with it.
It's versatile. There's so many things that you can do with it. You're learning about the breadth of business, the ROI, regardless if it's the digital or not. MBAs are going to be, you're going to see that ROI.
And the digital age still needs to have folks who understand how to manage people. It still needs to have folks who can think strategically and make data-driven decisions. The day-to-day may change and the jobs and the job descriptions may look a little bit different, but the skills that you're getting, the ability to learn and think on your feet, that's going to serve you well no matter where you're going.